Calling the meeting to order, 6:30 p.m. Please rise for the pledge. Jen, do we have anyone signed up for public expression tonight? Okay. So on behalf of the Board of Education, welcome to our meeting this evening. This meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available shortly through the school website using a link to board docs. We would like you to know that if you have a question or concern, that we strongly encourage you to utilize the Honeoye Central chain of contact. This will ensure that topics that are of importance to you are directed to the appropriate person and can be looked into in a timely and efficient manner. Before we proceed, please set your phones and devices to silent or turn them off so that we can conduct board business without disruption. And since there's no public expression tonight, we will forego that and we will move on to kudos. Jerry, would you like to start?
Why should things change? On June 9th, we had an elementary concert, and this was the training band's first performance. It was wonderful. A few squeaks here and there, but it was really nice to hear them play, and they really did a good job. The fifth grade band also played. The training band is under the direction of Mr. Wilkins. The fifth grade band did a nice job, and they're under the direction of Miss Andrews. And then the third, fourth, and fifth grade choirs also sang, and they're under the direction of Miss Lopez. So it was really good. And then, well, actually before then, on June 2nd, was the middle high school choir concert. And it was the sixth, seventh, eighth grade choirs, senior high choir, the mic droppers, which is a group of 8 students, and sound check choir, which is a group of 5 students, and Mrs. Cavillia, I believe, and Mrs. Willestein is the accompanist. And it was, again, really a lot of fun to attend. I believe the 7th grade science fair was Monday. I didn't get a chance to attend, but if it was anything like last year's, it's really fun to see. Things coming up, I believe, are the 5th grade moving up ceremony tomorrow. Let's see, kindergarten graduation is the 22nd. The National Junior Honor Society induction is Wednesday the 24th, and then high school graduation is the 26th. Does that sound right? Yeah, very good. But again, there was so much, the students do such a great job. And I heard the slip and slide was a lot of fun again. Okay, but at any rate, though, a lot of nice things happening to end the school year.
Anybody else? Megan?
Sure. I kind of just wrote a little something up for kudos for everyone for the year. I just want to say, as a member of the Board of Education and a parent in this district, I'm incredibly proud of all that our students have accomplished this year. Their hard work, perseverance, and dedication have been evident in the classrooms, on athletic fields, on stages, and throughout our community. As we celebrate our graduating seniors, we recognize not only their achievements, but also the bright futures that lie ahead. Graduation marks an important milestone, and we congratulate each student and family on this special accomplishment. I would also like to thank our teachers, staff, administrators, families, and community members whose support helps make our district a place where students can learn, grow, and succeed. Together, we have created opportunities that inspire excellence and foster a strong sense of belonging. As we bring this school year to a close, we reflect the pride on which has been achieved and with optimism for what is yet to come. We look forward to welcoming students back next year and continuing our commitment to providing the very best educational experience for every child. Congratulations to the class of 2026 and best wishes to all of our students for a safe, enjoyable, and well-deserved summer.
Anyone else? All right, then I'll go ahead with what I have. Marley, the first one is for you. I would like to thank you for serving as our ex officio student board member this year. You have represented your peers by being the one voice for many voices within the student body. You have shared highlights and celebrations and been honest about concerns and issues. It has been a privilege to witness your growth as a student and a member of our board. I hope that you will carry the blue and the white and the courage of a bulldog with you proudly. I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. Thank you for your service to the Honeoye Central community. And then for Sandy, I have something because this is Sandy's last official board meeting. So Sandy, you have become a dear friend to me through the years. Thank you for coming back when the team was down a teammate and for contributing positivity and being committed to the outcome for our students. I have appreciated you in small ways and big ways for many reasons. Mostly for the simple fact that your heart beats with nothing but love for kids and the cause. I have enjoyed working with you in concessions and celebrating the good times. I will miss you for the same. I will have more spare time now without you trying to use technology-driven devices and password-protected sites and documents. I am hoping we can spend some time chatting over lunch instead. Sincerely, though, thank you. And then to the board, our work isn't always easy work, and it's not always recognized or understood or appreciated. It's a lot of time and energy. Sometimes it's invigorating, and sometimes it feels very defeating. Ultimately, other than being a parent, it's the most rewarding work I think I have ever participated in. I am proud of this work, our work, and having this year to make a difference with this team. I appreciate you all for the pieces of the puzzle of me that you have helped me build. Whether you have softly encouraged me to push forward or loudly push me back, you have contributed to my progression. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as your board president again this school year. I have tried to lead with integrity and enthusiasm for the work. I have followed a strong moral compass and done everything possible to continue to grow and nurture a school community for students, faculty, and staff. I would like nothing more than to have the opportunity to continue in this role, but I'm proud of the journey and the work and the ways in which I have grown if I don't continue in this capacity for the board. Megan, lastly, I thank you for serving a leadership role beside me as vice president again. You've been a voice of reason and a support when I needed it. We work very well together, and for that, I'm extremely grateful. Lastly, a thank you to everyone, every single person that contributes every day to our students in our building, from the smallest operation and task to the largest. Honeoye Central School would not thrive without its people. Alone we are small, but together we are mighty. The district carries on tradition and roots itself so proudly into the many generations of Bulldogs. I am so proud that I am one. Thank you for a great 2026. Lastly, I just want you to know that on June 1st, I spoke at and attended the awards and scholarship event for mostly the high school students. It was awesome to see all the kids that have received notification that they have scholarships and awards waiting for them on June 26th when they walk across the stage, and even to some of the juniors that already can anticipate what's coming for them. So that was outstanding. And that's all I have for kudos. Sorry it was so long, but I didn't feel right not thanking everybody for your work. Next, we move on to Board of Education Committee reports and updates. Does anybody have anything for that? I will just add in that Jim and I will be at the capital improvement project meetings that will be held on July 2nd and August 6th. And after that, we have the superintendent report, so I will turn the floor over to Superintendent Fluke. Okay.
All right, thank you, Tori, and to the board for another great school year. Sandy, we will miss you dearly. Thank you for stepping in when we needed you. We will certainly miss you, but I know I'll see you around the school. We have a full agenda tonight, starting with highlights and celebrations, followed by 2 guest presentations, and then later we'll end with updates, including the 2 documents that will begin their required 30-day public comment period tonight. So first, let's start with highlights and celebrations. As we approach the end of the school year, we also prepare to say goodbye to several of our cherished members of the Honeoye family as they enter retirement. While we are excited for them as they begin their new chapter, their departure will surely leave a void that will be felt throughout our school community. We are deeply grateful for their years of service, and we wish them all the best. We look forward to celebrating their accomplishments at our end of the year assembly next Thursday. And for those of us who were fortunate enough to have attended the off-site retirement party, it was exceptional. So kudos to all of our retirees. I would also like to say a special thank you to Marley for the leadership and positivity that she brought to her role as ex officio student board member. Marley, you've been such a strong voice for your classmates and a valued member of our board this year. It has been a pleasure watching you grow and contribute this year, and we are incredibly proud of all that you've accomplished and excited to see what the future holds for you. We wish you happiness and success in your next chapter at UB. Thank you so much. And next up, we congratulate James S. and Jackson A. on being selected as next year's ex officio student board members. New this year, and after a recent recommendation from the board, we added a junior board member. So after putting themselves forward and then campaigning through a student vote, they have been chosen by their peers to serve as a voice for their fellow students. So congratulations to both James and Jackson. They will be invited likely to our August meeting where we will do a more formal introduction of our new board members. One of the highlights of the end of the school year is celebrating the many accomplishments of our students at the high school awards ceremony. Students were recognized for excellence in academics, leadership, service, citizenship, the arts, STEM, and extracurricular activities. These honors reflect the dedication, perseverance, and talents of all of our students, as well as the support of their families, teachers, and communities. Congratulations to all of our award recipients on their well-deserved recognition. And see all of the awards that were given out. All right. Also, a congratulations to teachers Alyssa BoE and Clarissa Hensler, recipients of the Grant in Aid Award. This recognition highlights their dedication to students, commitment to excellence, and ongoing efforts to enhance learning opportunities for all. So if you see Ms. Hensler or Ms. BoE around the building, please wish them a congratulations. On Monday of this week, so Jerry, you pointed out the science fair. Here are some of the displays. Our 7th grade science fair showcased the curiosity, creativity, and hard work of our students. Through hands-on investigations and presentations, students demonstrated their understanding of the scientific process while sharing their findings with peers, staff, and visitors. We had a room filled with guests on Monday. Congratulations to all of our young scientists, and thank you to our science teachers for their guidance and support in making this happen. They had a lot of really fun, creative experiments to showcase. All right, both Family Fun Night and Doggone Fun Day were days filled with laughter, fun, and community connection. At the Family Fun Night event, families enjoyed a variety of activities throughout the building, shared a meal together, and participated in a bike rodeo in partnership with the Ontario County Sheriff's Department. And here are some more pictures. Doggone Fun Day, it was its usual success, and even getting the high school students involved in the fun pictured here. Both events creating lasting memories, celebrating relationships and connection. I would also like to thank our music department for the many outstanding concerts that have taken place this month. We have had so many talented musicians and singers here at school. Thank you to our teachers for helping students develop and showcase their talents. And here pictured here under highlights, over the past few days, our industrial technology students have been hard at work Look at all of the horses they have built for our community playground build. It's been awesome to see them putting their skills into action while contributing to the project. And thank you to Mr. Lane for helping make this happen. So when I initially approached Mr. Lane, I said, we need probably 10 or 12 sawhorses. And when we went back and dug into the paperwork from Play by Design, we needed 25 pairs. So 25, they built 50 sawhorses. And these are the kids that did it. So thank you for that. All right, also a congratulations to students at Mid-Lakes Education Center, Newark Education Center, P-Tech, for successfully completing their programs, as well as our 17 students at the Finger Lakes Technical and Career Center, including 7 who earned membership in the National Technical Honor Society. So kudos to those students as well. And just a few more quick ones. I know we have some presentations coming up, but yesterday we celebrated the class of 2026 with our annual senior walk. It's one of the most meaningful traditions that highlights the K-12 connections within our school community. Lots of tears were shed yesterday during this walk at lots of special moments. Marley, thumbs up. How was that? How you feeling? That was a tough one. Before I bring up our first presenters, I want to address the seniors. I just want to start with saying I know many of you were disappointed. I just need to mention this, that the senior prank did not go exactly as hoped, but that I know they put a lot of thought and fun into that, so we're sorry about that. But what I hope you remember is that you've been an outstanding class, full of personality, leadership, school spirit. So much has come out of this class. You've left your mark on Honeoye in so many positive ways, and there is still so much to celebrate. There's plenty of fun still ahead. I have no doubt that next week's senior picnic is going to be amazing, and more importantly, graduation is right around the corner, and we cannot wait to celebrate each and every one of you and all that you've accomplished. I can say on behalf of the board and on behalf of the school, we are incredibly proud of our seniors and excited to see what comes next. And wow, that was a lot to celebrate. I could keep going, but I will stop there. Up next, I am honored to welcome 2 experienced educational leaders who have been helping guide our work with the district's 5-year strategic plan. Former superintendents from both Greece and Holly Central School Districts have been serving as facilitators throughout this process, helping our strategic design team engage in meaningful discussions and helping develop a shared vision for the future of Honeoye. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Kathy Groutman and Brian Bartolo. And they're just setting up their slides here, so, oh, that was quick. Yes, here you are. Yeah, so you'll just hit this arrow here. And yeah, just on the right, the button on the right. So the red light.
Does that work? Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. We're thrilled to be here, and we are thrilled about the work that we've been able to do with the team here at Honeoye. So I will just open with huge thanks to all the people who participated, and there is a point in the presentation where we'll call out some of the members of the team. But before we get started, just wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Kathy Groutman. As you can see here, have spent a long time in public education, about 33 years, and the last 10 of them were spent as superintendent in the Greece Central School District. So I've served as a teacher and about every position up until superintendent. So a long time committed to really helping public schools. And since then, as I said, I retired, but I didn't want to stop working, have found myself doing a lot of work with individual districts, with leadership teams, and also teaching at SUNY Brockport. So Bart and I have become friends years ago in our working years, and then have found ourselves kind of partnering with projects since then. So he's going to tell a little bit about himself now.
Thanks, Kath. As she mentioned, I'm Brian Bartolo. I go by Bart, so the committee got to know me as that. We have a similar background. I spent the majority of my career in the Hilton Central School District. I was a special ed teacher, and then I was a dean of students and an assistant principal, and then I spent 14 years as the principal of Hilton High School. I left there to be a superintendent, where we were superintendents at the same BOCES region. But Holly, much like Honeoye, was a little bit smaller than Greece. So I had a larger school experience for those 30 years that I was a teacher, coach, and building administrator, and then superintendent in a small district. So Holly, about 1,000 students, and a wonderful experience that made me feel very connected to the work that you're engaged in here. Along with that, I shared that I run a summer camp. It's just something a little unique about myself, and it brings me back to my roots growing up in Dansville, and I'm a director of the Genesee Valley Rotary Camp for children with special needs that my dad took me to when I was 15. So it's been a huge part of my life, and it's been something that's helped shape who I am and my core values. So I do mention it, and I shared that with the team because we have, similar interests in that way. So at this point, we're going to kind of get into a little bit of our why. So Kathy's going to share this part.
Sure. So we're here tonight because we wanted to update the board. So when we started this process, which we have a timeline, it started with a conversation. And since then, that was last fall. And since then, there has been a lot of work, and you've heard probably bits and pieces, and we've had membership from the board on the committee. So I know that there are some things that you know, but what we want to do is sort of walk through just a bit so that you can see sort of where we've landed in terms of a product, and also just talk a bit about the process that we went through. So we started meeting with the team and really anchored into this quote. So I come from a basketball family and had basketball players. My girls both played. So Coach K obviously resonates, but we really sort of anchored into this idea that people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And helping to create a strategic plan is a way that we can do that. Especially if you're involved in something that is meaningful and it's authentic and it's using the voice of stakeholders in a district, you get the opportunity to create something that's going to live and help to make changes for the better in a place that are so important. So that's huge in terms of just like our why, in terms of why we're here, but also how we lead in terms of bringing people together as a group. Strategic planning itself, I would have rolled my eyes at about 15 years ago. And I think I told this story. I sat as a principal for a long time in Greece, 10 years. And at the time, our strategic plan was, I feel like it was a document that sat on the shelf. It was something that nobody knew about. It was very long. I think it was about 80 pages. There was a lot of numbers in it. There was grammatical errors in it. There was all sorts of issues. But it really meant nothing, and it drove nothing in terms of change. And then when I was able to actually be part of the design of a strategic plan that was authentic, where we got people truly involved, where we listened to the voice of people in the community, to teachers, to students. When we engaged in that really, really meaningful process, what we created was something that then when I was superintendent was incredible in terms of just getting people to go move in the right direction, to know what we were all about and what we valued. Like it was a huge change for the district. So I went from a skeptic and somebody who was pretty critical of a strategic plan to somebody who really saw how that can make a difference. And some of the things that are really important about that are the fact that it becomes a roadmap for a district. So if done well, what happens is this becomes sort of the map for the district that everybody can go to know sort of where are we headed. So there's a lot about that that's really important to make sure it gets captured and reflected in a document.
So along with it being a roadmap, it should reflect who you are. One of the things I didn't mention is after I left all those jobs I had in the school districts, I started doing some consulting work and I do strategic planning work in other districts. And I came here and you could feel a sense of pride and tradition and history. And that came very clear. And that we need to reflect the organization of who you are as a Honeoye Central School District and as a community. We asked like, how many people went to Honeoye schools? And, more than half the room had their hand up. And so that became really empowering. And it also became important that we had to make sure that we're reflecting the strategic plan, the values that you have here in your community and your district. So that's a big part of it. And I think that shares the piece that I mentioned about the history, and Kathy alluded to the fact that it has to include the voice of the individuals who make up this school district and your community. So you had a survey that was done that we used that data. You had representatives around this room where we worked that would bring that stakeholder voice. And that is essential. I'll tell my little story. So I came from a district that had a rich tradition of having strategic plans that guided our work that we had involvement in. Then I became superintendent in a district that had no plan. So I had a vision with the board. We're going to work on a plan together. And then in November, we were deemed a target district, which is a target you don't want to have because we were in need of great improvement in academics from state assessments. So we had to implement the state's plan. So for 3 years, we had to operate on that. And it wasn't super motivating. Didn't include a ton of stakeholder voice because it was imposed on us because of poor results. We got off that plan, thankfully, with a lot of hard work, but then we got to create our own plan. And that's where it really makes the difference. And the investment and the buy-in, and people could see themselves in the plan.
So the other piece, a strategic plan done well, is the fact that it guides all decisions. So that when you as a board, when the superintendent, when teachers are making decisions, they have something to anchor into because it's really clear what you value, what you're all about, what's important to you. So all of those things being reflected in that document are ways that give people peace and sort of clarity in terms of how are they going to make decisions. And that's really what a good strategic plan should do. And it should also be a living document. So as much as we want a document and we want to live with it and have it be there for 3 to 5 years, the point about a strategic plan also should be that it's constantly being reviewed. It's constantly being like checked and monitored. And if there's something, for example, that needs to be tweaked or changed, don't wait 3 years to change that. You have a group of people who are like the stewards of the plan who may need to come and iterate a little bit differently or look at a different piece, maybe change a data point to reflect what you're looking for better, or maybe change a strategy. But the whole idea of it is that it's your guide and that's the way you make decisions, but it has to live. And it helps to create ownership and a shared vision. I shared a story about a couple of districts who have hired consultants to come in and they spend literally 2 days with the district. 2 to 3 days, they come in, they sort of bring people together, they talk about things, they use sort of a canned process and it's done. And my point around that when we talked early on was that this isn't work that can be done that quickly if you're really honoring voice and if you're really involving people in terms of process. So through the process that we've engaged with, which we're going to share with you today, you can see what happens with that as ownership is built, and people get really invested in what we're producing and creating and what we're wanting to see for the district.
And I think we're going to get to this, and we shared at our last meeting that one of the most powerful times we had here, and we were here monthly, was this notion of how to be accountable. And now you build a plan, and I've worked in districts where you build a plan and it goes on a shelf. And we spent a lot of time here with how to implement, how to find ways to hold each other accountable for what the plan involves. Because you spend a lot of time, it should be measurable, it should be meaningful. It's flexible, as Kathy stated. So for example, if you put in your plan that you're going to increase Regents exam scores by 10% in 5 years, and in 2 years, the state takes away Regents exams, now you're like wondering, what do we do with this big part of our plan that we had set a few years back? So you've got to be able to be flexible, but also to figure out ways to hold yourselves accountable to the plan. And that was really important. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. So with the timeline, it's pretty extensive. It starts in October. I mentioned that survey to students, families, staff, and community. And that was the first thing that Natalie presented us, are the results of that survey. And that's so important that you had that voice and you did that survey. And then we reviewed and went through data in the month of November. We initiated work as we got closer to the end of the calendar year and really began to work with the team at the start of the new year in January and into February. We worked on major components of the plan that you're going to see in a minute, particularly the portrait of a graduate, which was something that we spent a lot of time unpacking and making it meaningful for Honeoye elementary students, Honeoye secondary students. Then we spent a good portion of your superintendent's conference day. Kathy and I were given the privilege to lead a session in the auditorium, and then we had all the staff working together. I was facilitating the group with the secondary teachers, and Kathy had the elementary. That gave us rich data and great information to work with the design team. The design team came back together in April, where they honed in on all that data from surveys, from what their constituents were saying, and from the superintendent's conference day, and said, what are our main commitment areas? We didn't call it that at first. We changed, but what are the main areas that we're really going to focus on here to move initiatives forward? We called them commitments. We ended up with four commitments that you're going to see highlighted. And then we really unpacked each of those and designed them with priorities in each. And that really got us up until where we were looking at mission and vision, which is interesting here in Honeoye that we did that towards the end of the process, because we wanted all of this data information to really shape the direction we'd go, to really put a little bit of a rebrand on your mission and vision, which was an extremely successful endeavor. And then we started looking at design and that finishing piece. And here we are in June, where we're talking to you, and assuming that into the summer the board adopts this plan, then they're going to begin the fun work of implementation and rolling it out with a launch at the beginning of the school year.
So that gives you a big idea of how the year went. One of the things that was crucial to the work was the design team. So when we first met with Natalie, we talked specifically about who to have involved. And really thinking about, like, if we're going to include stakeholders, what's a manageable number? How are we going to meet? Where, what are we going to tackle? So you can see here the who, those were the groups. So we had teachers, we had administrators, we had other staff members like special areas, counselors, paras represented. We had a student member, parents, and community members. So that was really important. Number one, that bigger design team who was going to be meeting monthly was well represented. And I will say that not only did they show up, which is a huge part of any of this work, but they showed up willing, they showed up dedicated, they showed up honest. Everyone was engaged and participated. It was really a beautiful group to work with. And it wasn't because everybody agreed on everything. It was because people came and were truly like engaged and honest in the process. So we just really appreciated that. That last picture was from our meeting just last week. Not everybody was there, just because this was our last meeting on June 11th. So there was a few people who couldn't make it. And then you can see structurally just that we had monthly meetings. Some of those, and then we also had half-day meetings. Some of them were shorter, some of them were longer, and then we also consumed a good chunk of superintendent conference day. So again, that was all very mapped out and intentional work to make sure that we were getting to stakeholders and engaging people in the important work. The other piece that I would say, we started with this idea that we have to make sure that in a process like that, that we have authentic engagement, that we're really coming in a psychologically safe way, meaning that, if the superintendent's in the room and somebody wants to disagree, that's okay. And we did some work early on in the process just to acknowledge that and to be clear about the only way that we can do this work is if you show up, if we're really come with a collaborative, open mindset, if we make sure that we're engaged, and we can expect to use data, and we can also expect that we might not agree perfectly on everything. And the team did that beautifully. This slide just also shows, this is a couple pictures from superintendent conference days, but you can see in the visual, the things that we addressed. So portrait of a graduate, we looked at the timing of this couldn't have been more perfect with what the state was saying. And when you look at the portrait of a graduate, it's so clearly the North Star for any district in terms of what we're hoping for and wanting for students. However, the state handing us a portrait of a graduate doesn't necessarily get people invested. And frankly, there's a lot of us who've had things pushed on us from the state where there's sometimes resistance. What we did is we took that and engaged people in that so that Honeyway really defined and looked at what did that mean for them? What does it look like for an elementary student to sort of be like, what does the portrait of a graduate look like that in elementary or in secondary? So we personalized it for here so that it was meaningful and could serve as a North Star. As Bart mentioned, we looked at mission, vision, values, but some of that came at the beginning, values, some of the mission, vision came towards the end. Our commitment areas, which are not priority areas anymore, we worked on. And then again, we got into the idea of really clarifying actions and strategies and indicators of success, which you'll see in the plan. So now we're going to take a look. So Bart, I don't know, I'm going to,
jump in.
sorry. I'm going to go to my computer and pull something up and then.
So we were provided, we created some visuals as we went along from our own, but then we turned them over to the district. So Natalie and your communications individual, Bob, and they would work to create what will be. Now, we've been very clear that this is a draft, but we want to show you the first viewing of the draft. Even the design team hasn't seen the draft. The board is the first to view. And we're going to go through it. So the cover was there with the time frame. So as Kathy has this, are you good to? Right there. I think the cover reflected the idea that this is the blue dog or the bulldog blueprint. It is blue, but the bulldog blueprint was the theme or the title that they came up with, and it reflects a 5-year plan. The intro to the plan is a combined message which we thought was strong from the superintendent and the board president, which shows district leadership and community involvement. And Tori was an active and exceptional member to the entire process. So them writing an intro letter was great. And underneath that was a timeline to show the reader of the document what went into the same timeline that I had shared a minute ago. These are the revised vision and mission statements as they stand currently. I don't know if Natalie or Tori wants to speak to this part. As we said at our June meeting, feel free to chime in at these stages of our time.
Well, so we as a collective group thought that we did want to shorten our vision and mission statements the way they were. So this was something the entire team agreed upon. We spent a lot of time early on looking at our vision and mission, but then we kind of landed on something last month. It was the month of May where we had a pretty good idea of what we wanted in our mission and vision. And we wanted them to align. And then this month, when, at our last meeting, we looked at it again, and then we spent another chunk of time reviewing it again and really kind of landing on what we landed on. I'd like to read it. For vision, we envision a school community of lifelong learners where relationships matter, all people are valued, and individuals are challenged to thrive and contribute in an ever-changing world. So this kind of captures what we had in the past, but it is condensed, and we feel like it's something that captures everything that we foresee here for our students in Honeoye. Our mission is to inspire every learner to grow, contribute, and make an impact in the world through connection, service, and commitment to well-being and belonging while remaining rooted in our history. So you again, circling back to what makes Honeoye so unique and so special is that we do have history here. We have traditions here that we didn't want to lose sight of during the planning process of our plan.
Yeah.
Tori, I don't know if the core values we did early on as well.
I would just like to say that there was a lot of thought that went into these. Like they said, there was a lot of very honest conversation. There was a lot of wordsmithing, and people, like, we'd pick a word and then somebody would be like, no, that word doesn't work. And we would find another word, but it would be a 10 to 15-minute process to find another way to say it, so that nothing that I feel like anything anybody in the room said was not lost. Everybody listened and respectfully contributed, and if they disagreed, they found another way to help the person say what they wanted to say. So I feel like the whole building of this was inclusive in everybody on the team. Everybody had an idea, and in some way, everybody's thought is reflected throughout this plan.
And not only that, the core values become reflected. Now, those were the Honeoye core values that Kathy and I had led an activity early on to identify those. And we see those words, those concepts and ideals reflected in the mission and vision. And what we said as a lens was the mission is what you're doing day to day to achieve your ultimate outcome, which is the vision. So we feel very strongly that that came out well. Then we moved into portrait of a graduate work. So the state has 6 components or characteristics, and you see them there: academically prepared, creative innovator, global citizen, critical thinker, reflective and future focused, and effective communicator. So that's what the state came up with. But we wanted to make sure that Honeoye dug in and said, what does that mean for us? And it became very clear at that time when we looked at what the state is saying, and they still haven't released rubrics or ways to measure these, but that's coming, and we know it's coming soon. In fact, something was just released Monday with a new view on some of this information. But you're sitting really well prepared when that does come, because you've done so much work in each of these areas. This happens to be the portrait of a graduate for secondary students with those icons. And then they decided they wanted to put it in more elementary friendly language. It's the same 6 categories: academically prepared and creative and all the rest, but they put it in different ways that teachers would be able to bring that to a younger student's world. What does it mean to be an effective communicator in 3rd grade is quite different than an 11th grader. And so they took that portrait of a graduate and really made it 2 distinct areas: a 5th grader where they're ending their elementary years, and then a portrait of a graduate where they're exiting your school district and getting out into the community.
You're at the state elementary. I don't know if that was, instead of 5th grader.
Yeah.
That was mentioned just on the 11th.
I will definitely make a note of that.
A draft.
Yeah, this is still a draft.
And I want to add the pages that were just showed the portrait of the graduates here at Honeoye. That was the day that we met as an entire staff. It was superintendent's conference day. So all of our teachers, I know Megan, you were here that day, got an opportunity to develop what we thought students here at Honeoye who were academically prepared looked like. So that was a combination of all of our staff members participating that. We had elementary staff here in the LGI, secondary in the library, and all staff came up with these slides.
And it's hard to see in this slide, but it also talks about skills, specific skills that you'd be looking for in each of those areas. We mentioned earlier when we were going through the process, we decided that there were 4 commitment areas that the work will live in. The first commitment area was this notion of future ready and academically preparedness, which reflects the portrait of a graduate, of course, but it really dug into some of those commitment areas for that's really going to be your academic goal area commitment. So if it's related to academic student achievement in any way, whether it's in an honors classroom or whether it's a CTE program for those students that are seeking to go into the trades, they could see themselves in commitment 1. Commitment 2 is really that safe and supportive learning environment that can mean physical safety, but also social emotional safety, those connections for kids, so that in the district, there's a clear goal area around that notion for student life there.
The Bulldog 4, if you notice, is in every page across the bottom. Kathy, if you'll scroll up a little more, be respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. So for those, there were some elementary staff on the team that wanted to make sure that the Bulldog 4 didn't get lost. And you'll see that's along the bottom of every page.
And there's that honoring of the voice and history. Commitment 3 is about operational effectiveness. And this is one I want to pause on for a second. This is the aspect of the plan that's often lacking in a lot of strategic plans that I've seen and worked with. They give you this academics, the student life, or, that connection piece. And then the what is your 4th is sometimes the 3rd, which is the community and partnership one with families and so on. Operations is your facilities, your transportation, your food service, supported by your budget. Oftentimes, plans don't have that component, and therefore the folks that are cutting the grass, or they're the bus attendant, or they're working in the cafeterias, they don't see themselves in the strategic plan because it's all about academics, and they don't necessarily see that connection, which we all know is there. Because kids aren't learning if they're hungry. They're not learning if they're not in school and they didn't get picked up by the bus, or if they don't have the right resources to learn and technology in front of them and all the other things that are essential. And so we talked a lot about that collaboration and coordination that's needed in that operational aspect of your district that this team felt was essential to include in your plan so that all members of the school district community see themselves in this plan and can write goals and have actions that will keep the district moving forward in an improvement sort of mindset. And then finally, this was a big one here because of that power of the community and the connections with families and the history and the rich traditions. This became an important commitment area around how are we not only including local businesses, community members, agencies, fire departments, service organizations, all of that. But how are we expanding that? How are we looking for maybe opportunities for kids in this way? And that's also going to lead towards greater achievement. So those are your 4 commitment areas. And then this was sort of an ending where they were looking for, I think, a back cover and they were thinking, wouldn't it be fun or great to show some quotes? And I think this is in process, right? So getting some real strong quotes around the district and maybe putting the community, the committee members on the back page.
Yeah, nothing else. So I think the piece that we want to point out there is when we finished our last meeting, was a half day on June 11th. We were working still on finalizing mission and vision. And again, like Tori said, really taking time to listen and process and make sure everybody contributed. And then also what happened on that day is the team provided feedback. So what happened is in the midst of these meetings, there was work with with Bob from BoCES around the visual design. But we wanted on the 11th for people to be able to react to things and give feedback to how they wanted things laid out. So that day, the other thing that happened was there was a lot of feedback provided in terms of what did people like about the cover or not like? What did people like about the layout? Did it really like communicate what we were hoping for? So I say that because that was just last week. And that all of that feedback, I mean, that was Thursday last week, to give poor Bob a little bit of like grace here, because we were inundated with like lots of information and details and things, trying to sort of make it visually exactly the way we want. So I just want to sort of put that out there. And then lastly, we want to make sure that people understand sort of what's next, because really the hardest part of this work is to come. So you can see here in June, it represents what we did this month, from finalizing mission and vision to the visual design work, et cetera. And then obviously being here tonight. July we would be looking at the idea of bringing it forward for approval from the board. So really getting in between there, getting clear on the visual design and getting something printed and mocked up that is exactly what you're hoping for, to be able to put in front of you as a board, where you're able to sort of say, yes, this is what we want for our district. And then that leaves time in August for the team to meet, to really think about from a leadership perspective, what is this rollout going to look like? How can we make sure that this is implemented well? With a launch with the entire staff, the entire district in September, right at the beginning of the school year. The one thing that Bart mentioned that we were able to spend time with on June 11th is we talked a lot about implementation, and that's really a stage or a phase that oftentimes doesn't get done with the design team. And yet, it's the most important thing. I was in a district this past year, and I said this to the team who had worked on their strategic plan last year, and I was with the team every month, and that strategic plan didn't get brought up once. Their implementation, they didn't have a plan for implementation. So it's nice and it's pretty and it's sitting there, but it's not really being implemented to the degree that it should be. So we spent time with the design team really thinking about what would this look like? What are the things that we have to think about? What are the barriers that could get in our way? What are the places where we want to make sure we get some early wins? So we worked really hard to articulate that in June so that the team this summer can start with that and really think about how do we make sure that we set things up for the year to come so that this gets implemented really well. And I really, again, I would just give kudos to the team, because the ideas and the points that they shared in terms of what might get in the way or what they thought needed to happen were really insightful and great thinking. So we've got that captured, and that's work that's going to need to happen over the summer still.
Yeah, so that was literally a handoff, because that was an opportunity that was unique to Honeoye, that we had that nearly entire day where we had teams working on saying, here's what we need to do. And it's going to be handed off, and then the leadership team can take it. And that was powerful and really important part of the process.
Sir.
And that's where we are.
Questions or thoughts or comments, anybody?
I would like to say thank you to everyone involved. I didn't realize it was so much of an undertaking. So thank you to everyone involved in that. And it also makes me then start thinking about, as we look at our annual goals, like how do we tie those in with that? So
Yeah.
like my head is going, okay, what do we do now? But so thank you to
Yeah.
everyone involved.
Yeah, hopefully it's useful for you. I mean, for you as a board, obviously that makes a huge difference when you have that. And the teachers who were part of it, I shouldn't say just teachers, because it wasn't, I mean, they're writing sub plans to be with us for a half day. they're doing double work. So we really appreciated all that went into them being here and being present.
I think in organizations and especially school districts that are highly successful, what you just mentioned, Karen, about your goals aligning is essential. You know, if you look at those 4 commitment areas, if the board is engaged with creating new board goals for the coming year, using that as a blueprint, a template to look at what is perfect, and it shows that alignment that we've been talking about with the design team all year, and especially with Natalie, because there's meetings outside the meetings too. We were here monthly, but we were constantly in communication, separate meetings, and then we'd email the whole team and say, look at this and give us feedback. So there was a lot, but that's really, really important.
Any other questions for Kathy or Bart? All right, I just want to say thank you again for sharing your expertise with us, for your guidance throughout this process. We couldn't have done it without you. We're so excited. Sandy, Tori, thank you for being part of the team. And to all of our strategic design team members who are staff here, we are very appreciative and we're really excited. So we can't wait to roll this out to the entire staff, but to the board next time. So Bart and Kathy, thank you so much. Can we
Thank
give
you. Have
them
a
a round of
wonderful
applause?
June, rest of June. Happy graduation.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, up next, and I think Kathy, if you'll, yes, perfect. We have Mr. Pulver is up next to share all things athletics.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. As Natalie said, I'm going to be here kind of recapping both winter and spring. I will say this was I talked to Natalie about it today. This was a little difficult doing this just because some of this stuff happened months and months ago. And it's the majority of it, I'm sure, has been shared here before. Oh, okay. I have to do both. Oh, no, I got it. I'm gonna give it a go here. Um, like I said, I did talk to Natalie, and next year I think I'll do 3 presentations throughout the year, one for each season, kind of a wrap up and a introduction to the upcoming season. So I'm going to start with a recap of the winter sports. I'm going to let you read what's on the slide there. I'll just touch on a few of the highlights on each slide. So our boys varsity basketball team obviously had another very successful season, winning their second sectional title in a row, which was a great achievement. Landon Washburn hitting the 2,000 point mark. I'll touch on that a little bit more here as we go forward. Oh, sorry, Landon W. Sorry about that. Honeoye seniors Zara O was named News 10 NBC Scholar Athlete of the Week, and Danny G won sectionals for boys pole vault and weight throw, and this was in indoor track. Excuse me, it was not outdoor track. So, moving on to some all-stars and senior recognitions as far as exceptional senior games. Once again, I'll let you read through all those recipients there, all well deserved. Like I said, I wanted to touch on Landon W real quick, just to kind of keep the interest, at its peak.
This slide, did you have to go to the next slide?
No, not. Oh, I did. I thought I did. I'm sorry. Thank you. Real quick note on Landon. He was named Finger Lakes West Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and our first basketball player in many years to be named to the All Greater Rochester team. As I said a minute ago, he also eclipsed the 2,000 point mark. He sits at 2,177 points right now. Just kind of a little note, the Section 5 scoring record all time is 2,914 points. So he's 738 points away from surpassing that and becoming Section 5's hopefully all-time scoring leader. Moving forward in what we're doing this winter, we've removed ourselves from Finger Lakes West for 1 year just to try to play a tougher schedule and to get ready to kind of make a sectional in hopefully a state run. So that, we'll be playing much better competition on a day in, day out basis, which could, inhibit that a little bit. But I think, Landon will stay, true to himself and rise to the occasion here. So, I encourage everybody to come out and kind of keep track of that because it's going to be a fun time here next winter, I assure you. Change my slide. We had five scholar athlete teams and 38 student athletes that were named scholar athletes in the winter. This is, our numbers are always great here as far as the students that represent us in this accomplishment. Spring highlights. Once again, I'm just going to touch on a few. Our girls track team finished second in sectionals as a team. Zara O won the pole vault championship for sectionals. We had the 4x800 girls relay team and the 4x400 relay team, which featured Lila Dussault and Amelia Reynolds. And these are two young girls. I believe they're currently in ninth grade. So they have a lot of time ahead of them, which is really exciting to do nothing but improve on that. Throughout the spring season, our track team set a few program records. The boys 4x100 relay featuring Danny G. Girls pole vault, Zara O, first Bloomfield Honeywell female athlete to clear 10 feet in the pole vault, and boys shot put, Danny G set a school record there, or a program record there as well. Once again, our all-stars for the spring here. We had many representatives from not just our Honeywell teams, but our combined teams as well. So I'm very proud of the way that, all these kids performed. Once again, in the spring, we had 5 teams qualify for the scholar athlete teams and 32 athletes. So once again, very, very well represented there. Want to touch real quick on our senior nights. So here's some photos from senior nights this winter. And then in the spring, in the spring as well. And I just want to touch on some kind of like, for lack of a better word, like little side projects going on. We did work on, as many of you know, we did work last year on the student athlete handbook. This year's chore was the athletic coaches handbook. And, listed here are everybody that contributed to that. Jermaine was on that committee. I appreciate it very, very much. I think the second time around here, not only because of I think the student athlete handbook needed more work than this did, but I think we're much more efficient and on this handbook and deciding, what needed to be done there. So this will roll out in August to the coaches. And just so you know, the folks that just spoke mentioned having like a living document. Like both of these handbooks that we are working on are kind of living documents too. There's constantly going to be changes to them. Right now through NISFA and New York State Ed, they're talking about making changes to the APP process, which that's the process where kids in 7th and 8th grade can test up to play at a JV or varsity level. They're talking about kind of whole scale changes to that where they're going to take the testing right out of it. So, what it would be essentially would be a coach recommendation, a parent approval, sign off, and then a decision on my part about, maturity level and things like that. So they're going to take, the physical fitness test out, the Tanner test, which is more of a medical maturity test. They planning on taking all that out. So all that will have to be updated in our brand new handbooks. And so we'll have to keep up to speed on that. Another kind of thing that's been ongoing here is I've finally got a good update on athletic trainer. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but we have tentatively agreed to hire UR Medicine and Thompson Health. Once again, I know this needs board approval and all that, and I believe through conversations I've had with Derek and Natalie and Jen that this is planned to go through in July if everything works out. This group, and I want it to be known, like, we didn't just stumble onto this group, or anything like that. They've they've added people to their staff to be able to provide this service, because there are so many, schools in the area that need the service. So we've been in, constant contact with them. The tentative agreement is to have them here for varsity soccer games, both boys and girls. And this is based off what we've done in years past. The home cross country meet, and then JV and varsity boys and girls basketball games. We've also talked about having 2 days a week for 2 hours each day for like a training session in school where the student athletes can go see them for work. All of this is able to be changed as time goes on based on our needs. For example, if we don't have a sport, let's say we don't have a home cross country meet, we're not going to be charged for that, if we don't have one for that year, because there is a rotation on that. Last year was our year to not have our own meet, so we will have it for the next few years. And the same thing with the training room. In the past, we've noticed that, the trainer would come and sit for, they'd see kids for about a half an hour, then they're sitting there for an hour and a half, not doing anything. We are able to change this at any point if based on our needs and based on the usage to kind of keep our costs at a minimum. So like I say, hopefully by this time, next board meeting, we'll have this in place and ready to be approved by all of you folks.
I'd like to just say thank you to Mark, and I know it looks like Mark, we might have two questions, but he spent all year on the phone trying to, button up the process for hiring an athletic trainer. So he's been back and forth. I think when they finally did say that they had people, we were first on the list because of Mark's diligent phone calling that he made. So
Well put,
thank you.
diligent. You could have said that a different way. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
no
know that you were really after that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Did you
Jerry,
say we had questions?
I think we did. Megan and Jerry, did you have questions?
Yeah, go
Jerry, can you use your mic, please? Thank you.
Sorry.
on.
I noticed for the trainer, you have fall sports and winter sports. How about spring sports?
So typically a trainer is at sports that are considered contact sports. Okay, so the only contact sport that we have is lacrosse, which is played at Bloomfield. So if there's a game here, and I will add too, sorry, this is the same crew that provides service for Bloomfield. Okay, like I said, they've just added additional staff to handle our needs and other districts' needs. But and I'm not sure if you're asking because of baseball or softball or anything like that, but typically when we've paid for the service, we've never had a trainer at baseball or softball because it's not considered a contact sport. It'd be something I'd be open to looking into and possibly offering, as long as we decide it's cost effective to do so. So, yeah.
I guess my question is to like going off with Jerry, like would that trainer be available still like a couple days during the week
In the
or
spring,
in the spring?
100%. Yeah, the training sessions in school will be year round.
Okay.
Yes, and hopefully I'd like to get them here like in August when we start doing our sessions for fall, because you'll see on the next slide that the fall season starts August 24th. Like I'd like to have at least one session a week during the preseason too. So, yeah.
And then my next question is, I don't know if this one might be a question for Derek. Is there like a minimal of hours that like we have to fulfill or like that they can be like, do you know what I mean? Like
No.
in per contract?
Yep.
What would that look
And,
or
and,
what does
and maybe
that
you
look
want, I don't know how closely you've looked at it. I mean, yeah, this has just come up over the last few
Okay.
days here. But from my understanding, no, it's as needed basis. Yep. So that's why we kind of will take a look at like what we actually need for the training sessions in the school versus, because I know a lot of times, like if they're at a basketball game, a lot of times, like if they're at a boys basketball game, we've had like somebody from the girls team go over and see the trainer in the corner while they're at the game, so we'll probably kind of curb any costs wherever we can. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay. Moving on to just some important fall dates. Fall registration right now, Mary Beth Donkery and I have discussed this, and we're looking to open that up on July 27th. I probably should have had these in a different order. I apologize. The varsity and JV sports are starting on August 24th. By New York State law, you cannot open registration more than 30 days ahead of time because of the medical end of things, physicals and things like that. So Monday, July 27th is when we're going to open registration. When I communicate this out to the district, we will include in the communication that the medical director, I'm not sure if that will still be Dr. Foote or not. I don't know if I've been told that he's retiring at some point in the near future. But the medical director will be on site July 16th to provide physicals for anybody that needs them. My mandatory coaches meeting, I'm still working on that with my fall coaches to set that up. That will be somewhere in the week leading up to the preseason, so the week of August 17th. As I mentioned, preseason starts the 24th with JV and varsity and modified on the 31st. We will be holding my lovely meeting with everybody, coaches, parents, everybody for the fall season on the evening of the 24th after like the double session, PM session for soccer teams and things like that. And then homecoming, which is always a big weekend, is scheduled for October 2nd and 3rd. What did I do? Oh, there we go. I just real quick want to take a minute, and I know Natalie mentioned a couple of these individuals that are retiring because they are teachers, but I just want to say thank you and congratulations to Coach Gardner, who was my JV golf coach and varsity tennis coach, Coach Carly Walsh for varsity cheerleading, and Coach Sharon Liss for modified. I'm going to kind of jump ahead here a little bit. We're struggling right now to find a modified volleyball coach to replace her. So I might have to retract that if I can beg her to come back if we need to. So, but as of right now, she's retired. As I said, I want to talk to everybody about the fall coaches. You're going to have a lot on your list tonight for approval for winter as well as a few for the fall, but I just didn't feel that I had enough concrete information yet until you approve them to kind of provide a fall coaches list. So I will talk about the fall, or excuse me, I didn't have enough information for the winter coaches. I will talk about the fall coaches here though. You're going to see a couple question marks next to a few names there, and I'll tell you why those are there. Other than that, you can read who the coaches are, but I will explain any kind of inconsistencies that are on the slide here. So you'll see a couple of question marks next to Coach Gillette and Coach Piacente. The only reason those question marks are there is because they're on the list to be approved tonight. So I didn't want to, jump ahead of myself here and say that they were approved already. I'm going to swing down to Coach Very down for JV girls soccer. He's already been approved for that position, but it's a little bit of a fluid situation. It'll depend on how many levels we have for girls soccer. So if we have 3 levels, Coach Very is already assigned to the JV level. If we end up with 2 levels, we will have varsity, obviously, and then Mod A. And according to the HDA contract, Mod A coaches get paid at a JV rate, so that Coach Very will fall into that position. I'll talk about numbers on the girls' side here in just a minute. So as I said, down at the bottom there, modified volleyball is posted. I believe this is the 3rd time we've posted it externally. We currently don't have any takers for that. So if anybody knows anybody interested in coaching modified volleyball, let me know. Once again, mod soccer, that was posted externally before, and we didn't have any takers. So we're kind of in a holding pattern on that one until we figure out, once again, if we will have 2 or 3 levels in that sport. And then boys soccer, we have not appointed any coaches yet. I'll jump ahead to the next slide here and talk about why. Our boys soccer programs kind of in a little bit of a transition period here. We've got extremely low numbers. We graduated 9 seniors from this team last year. And I believe the team only had 14 kids on it last year. So, we graduated 2/3 of our team. We did a interest survey for fall sports probably a month ago, maybe a little bit less, and just kind of ask kids, what sports do you plan on playing in the fall? And based on that, I believe we had come back with something like 22 players on the boys side program wide. That's not nearly enough for two teams. So right now I've been working with Bloomfield to talk about a merger situation. They talked about it at their board meeting earlier this month. I believe it was a week ago today. And there's more conversation to come next month on that as well. I also reached out to Livonia. They were not interested. I reached out to Naples. They are not interested. Both of those schools have a very strong soccer program, so I can kind of see where they wouldn't be interested in bringing in people from the outside. Bloomfield's a little bit stronger than we are numbers wise right now, so I will obviously keep everybody updated on that as we go along. On the flip side, girls soccer numbers are extraordinary. They have been since I've been involved with the program. Um, so, you know, the last 3 years since I've been in this position, we found ourselves in the exact same spot that we find ourselves in right now. Are we going to go 2 levels? Are we going to go 3 levels? And what does that look like? One of the main factors that determine that though are where the numbers are skewed. So for example, last year, or excuse me, 2 years ago, we were very heavily skewed towards the seventh, eighth, and ninth grade levels, as far as numbers. So we did like a hybrid schedule where we kind of played 2 seasons with that group of girls because we had so many of them. When you have 24 girls on a team, it's hard to get everybody on the field. This last year, our varsity coaches opted to have many girls on the varsity team. So that kind of skewed the numbers in that direction. So I've been in constant contact with Coach Carnes, the varsity coach, and his coaching staff regarding what we want to do for this upcoming season. In my communications with Bloomfield regarding the boys side, they just brought up the fact earlier this week when I spoke to the AD over there that maybe they'd be looking for a spot for some of their girls that are in seventh grade. So if we decided to take them on, would that allow us to push for 3 levels? Because we're not quite there right now. So that, like I say, it's an ongoing thing with a lot of variables that decide that. So once again, I'll keep you up to date on that as well. And then the only other thing that we got going on, kind of drama wise, if you will, on the fall side of things is a location for our volleyball team. I've been in contact with local schools and local businesses such as Pinnacle to try to find a place for our girls to play with a capital improvement project. They will not be able to practice or play in the gym. So, we've made a couple changes. We've backloaded their schedule with home games in hopes that the gym will be available later in the season, which means a lot of away games at the beginning of the season. Once again, Bloomfield seems to be the front runner as far as being able to help us for a location for the girls to practice. One, location wise, obviously it's very close. But once again, I've also talked to Finger Lakes Community College. I've talked to Pinnacle. I've got to look into the Little Lakes Community Center down here in Hemlock. I don't know what they have to offer. So in Livonia, I've talked to Livonia. They're all willing to let us use the space. I'd like to avoid bouncing around with the team if I can and keep them in one location. But once again, that's to be, determined over the next couple months here as to what we're going to do. Real quick before I wrap up, I've got some thank yous that I want to kind of talk about real quick. There's a bunch of people on the list. I want to really emphasize a few things though. I ask a lot of Mike Kessler and his crew. In the winter, I'm constantly asking for things inside, and then the weather. Everybody knew how the weather was this spring. It was difficult's not even the right word. I can't even really think of the right word, but Ray and the crew outside did a heck of a job keeping the fields ready for the teams that played here. So I owe them a lot. And the same thing with the new mergers at with Bloomfield. Megan can attest to this. Like transportation was rough at times, but that was to no fault of our side at all. Ray and his staff and Jillian and all the drivers go above and beyond getting my teams where they need to be. It's a topic that we often talk about in our AD groups of, hey, we're going to be late to this game, just to let you know or whatever. I've never had to do that. My transportation department's far and above everybody else's that I deal with. So I owe them a lot as well. So any questions from anybody? Any more questions? Comments? No? Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Mark, thank you very much. Can I have the clicker? All right, thank you. All right, and now I turn the mic over for the last time to student board member Marley.
All right. So for the clubs and activities to end the season and school year, student council has decided their homecoming theme, but I'll leave that a surprise for them to reveal since I'm no longer responsible for that. Youth to Youth is already preparing for the Day of Caring for this upcoming year, and it sounds like a lot of fun. And then French Club did their presentations this spring for the English portion of their Seal of Biliteracy. And for some students, that was the beginning of their presentation and qualifications they needed to meet. And for others, it was the end. And then Math and Physics did a trip to Seabreeze where they applied what they've been learning throughout the year to real life situations and enjoyed a nice lunch and day in the park. And then in gym class, Mr. Buckley's been having students choose their favorite toy from their past that they believe should be inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame. He had all students research them, explain their memories connecting to these, and then write short paragraphs that he's bringing to the Strong Museum of Play over the summer in hopes that some of these may be inducted in the future. And then from the seniors, we collected a list of what we're all going to miss, and I'll let you all read that. Some of them were repeats. And yeah. And then the seniors also are working on one more thing for the Board of Ed, which I will email to Mrs. Fluke, I believe, tomorrow.
Okay. And again, thank you very much and congratulations to all of our seniors. And Marley, thank you. You will be missed. Okay, and moving on to updates. Our district has been approved once again to offer summer meals this year. That includes both breakfast and lunch. If anybody has any questions or would like additional information, please have them reach out either to myself or to Amy Levesque. As part of our annual review of the Code of Conduct, the only proposed change this year is the addition of language under the section addressing insubordinate conduct. So, or section 9 here, prohibited student conduct. So see bullet 2 is the proposed addition. Specifically, the proposed revision clarifies that refusing to cooperate with district safety and security procedures, including the use of detection wands, breathalyzer screening, and inspections of bags, purses, backpacks, coats, or other personal items would be considered an example of insubordination and would be treated as such. This addition is intended solely to support the district's ongoing commitment to safety and security. So if the board has any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. Again, the 30-day public comment period will begin after the board meeting tonight. All right, continuing on with our annual review of safety updates, I'd like to briefly highlight the proposed revisions to our district emergency response plan. So Deputy Jacobs reviewed our current plan alongside several sample emergency response plan and found that the primary differences were in organization and formatting rather than content, which was a good thing. As a result, he reorganized the document into clearer sections and kind of subcategories, making it shorter, more user-friendly, and easier to navigate during an emergency. So without changing any of the procedures, we were able to condense it down and make it a little bit more user-friendly without, again, making any changes. In addition, he and I reviewed both the district use and public version of the plan. The only significant change there was to the public version, and it was to remove the emergency contact phone numbers just to better protect that sensitive information of those on that list. The district version, however, does still provide the emergency numbers. So the revised plans, again, both the code of conduct and the district emergency response plan have now been posted, and the required 30-day public comment period begins tonight. Because there are fewer than 30 days from now until the July meeting, both plans will be recommended for board approval for the August meeting. Okay, so if there's any questions or concerns about either of those plans, please send them my way. We do welcome stakeholder feedback and suggestions as part of this process. And lastly, our elementary and secondary family engagement plans have also been reviewed and are available on our district website. These plans outline the ways in which we partner with families to support student success and encourage meaningful family involvement. If anybody has any questions or suggestions having been made to either of those plans, please reach out to your building principals or myself. And finally, our list of upcoming events and dates. So again, Regents testing started this morning, with the exception of the math test that was last week, the Algebra 2 exam, June 18th, fifth grade moving up ceremony, as Jerry mentioned. We have elementary awards program coming up. The National Junior Honor Society induction is not on here, but that is coming up as well next week. Juneteenth, no school this Friday. Kindergarten graduation, last day of school for students in grade 6-12. Graduation rehearsal is the morning, the day before graduation, followed by the senior picnic. Just made a note here, 8 tickets were assigned to each graduating senior. Okay, so make a note of that. And then, of course, our last and most meaningful celebration of the year, our high school graduation ceremony next Friday at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. Does anybody have any questions about any of the updates from this evening? All right, at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Valise.
Thank you very much. So as a requirement for the title funding is that we have to communicate out to stakeholders about the uses of title funds, what our allocations are and what our intended uses are. So Superintendent Fluke does have a form. If you guys could please sign acknowledging that you guys were present for this presentation, because we do have to submit that to the state as we file for this grant funding. So Title Grant does not run the typical school year like some of our other grants that we have, such as the IDEA grant. This begins in September 1 and runs through August 31st, as opposed to the July 1 through June 30th. So we'll talk about the title grants that we receive, what they can be used for, our planned uses for 26-27, and then give an opportunity for any board members or community members to provide feedback. So our allocations for the 26-27 school year are as follows. For Title 1, we are receiving 74,638. Title 2 is 13,467. And Title 4 is 10,000 for a grand total of 98,105. Grants are dwindling and have been dwindling my entire career. So we are down about $5,000 from last year, but that is very common. Across the country, title grants are federal funding that are passed through New York State, is very common.
Title I last year was in the low 80s, correct? So you
Correct.
can
Yeah,
see.
Title 4 has not moved. I think 10,000 is the minimum funding, but yes.
Okay.
So some of the uses for Title 1. So Title I is geared towards AIS, academic intervention, pre-K, summer, extended school day programs. You can use teacher aides in that category, technology upgrades, parent liaisons, things you're not allowed to use Title I for. Principal salaries, superintendent salaries, cost of services not targeted to at-risk students, food and refreshments, furnitures, incentives for participation, field trips for entertainment that's supposed to say purposes, not purchases, in construction. Title II is for supporting effective instruction. So we could use it for instructional coaching, professional learning, principal leadership program, teacher leadership program, induction, mentoring, national board certification, recruiting and retaining effective teachers, class size reduction, career readiness education, supporting students affected by trauma, high quality instruction of STEM, and effective teaching ELL, MLL students. Unallowable. Food and refreshments, curriculum writing, materials and supplies, obviously not connected to Title II, furnitures and materials and supplies, not secular or neutral. Title IV-A is student support and academic enrichment. You can use this to towards your school resource officer, your mental health and counseling salaries, professional development, food for instruction of healthy lifestyles, STEM and enrichment, music and arts, accelerated learning programs, drug and violent prevention, physical education activities. You cannot use it for technology infrastructure in excess of 15%. This is $10,000, so 15% won't get us very far. Awards and award ceremonies, advertising, food, and gift cards. So our planned uses are the same that we've been using it in the years past. So in Title I, we use this to help support our AIS programs. A portion of AIS teaching staff are included in this. Title II, we use this for staff development. So over the summers, we are going to be inviting teachers in to learn about our new ELA curriculum. And this is how we pay them for their time for the last several years. That's what we've been using it for. And then Title IV-A, we have been using $10,000 towards our STEM and enrichment teacher. Any comments, questions, or feedback from the community or the board? Thank you for your time on that. So next on our topic is capital project. We started or should we?
You want me to approve, have that done for you?
Sure. Sorry.
It's okay. I would be looking for a motion to approve the reserve allocations. Can I get a motion for that, please? Sandy motions. Anybody for second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's carried.
All right, thank you. So in addition to the finance portion of what I'm going to speak about today is our capital project. So we have already started with the PA clock system. They ran all the cabling is done throughout the buildings. We were told over the next 30 days that all the clocks will be put into our spaces. These clocks are actually in our spaces right now. The one to the left is a hallway clock that will be new. It is double-sided, so no matter where you're in the hall, you can see the time. You can know if you're late to class or not. But the other important part is there's strobes with a message. So if there's a student in the hall in a crossing period, or we go in a lockdown, a fire drill, it's going to speak, hey, we are in a fire drill, we are in lockdown. But it also will scroll because we know in passing time, sometimes it's hard to hear. So in the hallways now, we will have a communication device for students and staff to understand what's going on. In addition to the classroom that is to the right, that is the classroom style clocks that are being put in. Same functionality, just obviously not dual-sided. And again, they're going to have the scrolling screen. So if you're in the gymnasium, the auditorium, they're going to be larger in size, but you'll still be able to see what message is happening. And they have strobes on them. So as they're going off, there's colors that are associated with it. So next week, some of our safety committee team are mostly building leadership are going to meet, and we're going to talk over coloring and messaging and figure out the programming of these clocks. So they're starting to come in and be installed. So hopefully by September, well, we were told middle of July, they should all be in. So that's good news. On the other side, this is what as of 4 o'clock today, what our elementary gymnasium looks like. As you can see in the left and middle picture, that is the far wall where there used to be bleachers. There are no longer bleachers, and there is no longer a ceiling. And then they're starting to update and put in new HVAC equipment. So off to the right, where you going towards the girls' locker room, there is a bunch of HVAC equipment. So you may see some dust in the hallway as they carry things out, but they're well underway. And so far, we are still on target, which is very good for construction. Usually you fall behind, but we've been doing great with construction.
That's it from the business office, but I would like to say what an outstanding job the construction workers have been doing thus far. You can't even hear them in the building. You wouldn't know they're here. So when I saw them coming in on day one in the morning, when I thought I thought they were coming after hours. You wouldn't even know they're here. And I can't tell you how many people couldn't believe that this was happening behind the doors during the school day. So just kudos to them. They're doing an outstanding job, and there's a lot of them, and they're getting a lot done. So I'm excited about that.
All right, we will move along with the consent agenda. So I would be looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the May 20th Board of Education meeting and the CSE minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Is there any, Megan second. Is there any discussion?
Yes. There was a question that I had on the CSE minute. When it says grade level, is that the grade level the student is in now or the grade level they will be in the next year?
For the CSC minutes, I believe it's the grade level they will be in next year.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Looking at the treasurer report, I'm looking for a motion to accept their treasurer report from May of 2026. Get a motion?
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. Moving on to personnel, we have a tenure. I'm looking for a motion to grant tenure to Erica Esquino in the tenure area of Director of Curriculum, Instruction and Technology, effective July 20th, 2026. I get a motion.
I'll move.
And a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. We have resignations. I would be looking for a motion to accept the resignations that are listed in board docs for us. There are 4 of them. Can I get a motion to accept those?
I'll move.
In a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. For the elementary teacher, that's been posted already and we're in the process of trying to find someone.
Yes, actually, we had over 25 applicants, and interviews are next week, first round interviews. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. Next, we have appointments. Is everyone okay with taking these all together? Okay, we will take them all together then. I am looking for a motion to approve the list of appointments, which would include 26-27 mentors, 26-27 secondary department and grade level chairs, secondary extracurricular coordinators, supervisors and advisors, supervision for detention, student government advisors, and so on. And then we have 26-27 coaches and a 26-27 unpaid assistant. Can I get a motion for those, please?
I'll move.
Is there any second?
I'll second.
Any discussion there? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. We will move on to new business, old business. We have 4 invoices. One's from Watts Architects and Engineers, the other is Capital Region BoCES, another is Guardian Fire Testing Laboratories Incorporated, and lastly is Iverson Construction Corp. Can I get a motion to approve those? And a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. Next, we have a memorandum of agreement. This will be the HTA MOA testing accommodation for 2026. I need a motion to, I'm looking for a motion to approve. Anyone? Okay, Jerry, and a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is also carried. Then we have the secret resolution. This is a secret type 2 resolution for the EPC. I'm looking for a motion to approve
I'll move.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. Moving on to contracts. I'll be looking for a motion to approve the energy performance contract and the Honeoye Support Staff Association contract. Any motion
I'll motion.
and a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Next, we have obsolete items. I'm looking for a motion to declare obsolete and discard the following items that were, there's a very lengthy list provided by the athletic department. Need a motion to approve, motion to declare obsolete and discard.
I'd like to discuss that, so should we do that after?
We have to move and second and then discuss.
We'll move it then.
And then a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
Yes, there is.
Jim?
Yeah. After looking over the list, I think there's probably quite a few people in the community who might be interested in some of those things. So Derek has some options for us that we might be able to do. Mark also had one, but he left. He was discussing some way to working into sports boosters, but we'll see what Derek says first.
Yeah, so under general municipal law goes to local policy, and local policy says that if I myself find that there is value in there, that we could put it up for auction, and if we don't think there's value, we can discard, recycle, dispose of whatever we think has no value. The problem is everything has value to somebody. So, but is it worth the energy to chase those dollars? But the items listed there, I do believe may have value to our community because there's a lot of history that written on those items listed. So there is always options. So per law, we have to get fair market value out of those items. And there's two ways to get fair market value. One is you hire an appraiser that comes in and tells you what the dollar is, but there isn't somebody that specializes in everything. There's a cost that comes to it. The most cost-effective route is what we do when we declare surplus of our vehicles, which is utilizing a website called Auctions International. You put things up there, and fair market is determined by the market itself. So people have an opportunity to bid on it. If you go on there, I just checked before the meeting, we had the city of Canandaigua, Hopewell, Bristol, all had items that were expiring tonight for items that up for sale. So if the board so chooses, we can put everything up for auctions in lots. So in order to make it cost effective, if the lot goes above $25, we aren't charged anything. Whoever buys it pays a 10% premium. You buy it for $25, you pay $27.50. They keep the $250, we get the $25, and then we deal with working with the winning bidder to come pick up the items. So if we were to go that route, we have to be strategic to make sure that that bidding gets above $25 to try to be cost effective for us.
What happens if nobody bids on any of the items?
We have the option to throw them back up on auction or just discard them at that point.
Anybody else have any questions or want to add to the discussion?
So is there not a way to have this be at a more local level? As we were talking about our history and how important that is to our community. Again,
Yes, so I know of some districts that have done auctions in their own front yard. of their school district. So I would imagine it looks like posting a legal ad in the paper and communicating out that we're going to do an auction. And then we'll just have to, again, build lots and advertise it, and then we can do it right here and make this the market in which defines the value of those things. Because like you're saying, um, I don't know how many people in Nevada want a Honeywell basketball jersey. Probably very few. So you never know. There could be alumni over there that does. But so another option is we could hold an auction here. What that looks like, we can figure that out along the way. That's not something I've done before, but it's been done before, and I can get more information, and we can go that route if you would like.
Could the sports boosters perhaps be part of it?
So yes, they could be bidding on it, but technically the sports boosters is not a school entity. So we'd be essentially passing on money that should be going to the district to another unrelated entity. But nothing stops the sports boosters from bidding on it. And then once they become owner of it, they can do whatever they want with it. So if they want to buy it and then do their own auctions, because again, we're going to want to do them in lots. So I don't think we're going to want to hold up each jersey individually. We'll be there all day and maybe all week, longer than the playground build. So we'll put them in lots together, and and then they can bid on it. And then if they choose to sell each jersey or banner separately, they're more than welcome to do that.
I was
Can you
gonna
dis-
ask, oh, go ahead.
I was wondering, can you dispose of items that is a garbage disposal, or is there a way to donate those, dispose
So
of those through donation? Am I making sense?
we can look more into it. We can bring in our legal counsel. I know that before I have donated library books that were deemed no value uh, to, to some charities. So there is a way to do it if they're not for profits, but I just want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's before we go down there and get our
Absolutely.
hands slapped. But I know there is a route. I've donated library books before to the library.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask the same thing for the banners, but then you commented about the banners could be involved in that as well. My question is too, with all these banners getting thrown out, are we gonna be replacing? I know some of these banners we have replaced, but we haven't replaced them all. Is that something we're gonna do at the end of the capital improvement project?
So I know that Mark has ordered some. I don't know if they've come in yet. So we did some forensic accounting and went back to figure out where we got those existing ones to get the same similar pattern. So I believe they are ordered already.
Yeah, all of the banners are being replaced, so there is not one banner not being replaced. If you don't see it, it's only because the colors weren't the same as they were and we wanted them to look the same. So they're coming.
I know the boys basketball team has been asking me when theirs is gonna get up, so I just know they're keeping their eye out for it. So
Yeah, like you said, I believe that the capital project in the gym is what's preventing that right now. You don't want to put it up and then have it get damaged.
So my question then would be, if we're not 100% certain what we're gonna do we table this then, or do we still declare them obsolete, but we're not technically discarding them? Is my question.
So
How do we-
either way, they got to be declared obsolete. So if we want to move forward and call it obsolete today, we can, and then we'll work through the semantics of what we're going to do with it afterwards, if you would like, or if the board feels more comfortable, we can figure out semantics when we declare it obsolete. But either way, they have to be declared obsolete.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just using the word obsolete and not discard, because we're not technically discarding, or is this considered discarding?
Well, it could be. There could. I haven't seen the extensive list. There may be some things, so you could do it as discard and or sell.
Okay, okay. All right, so I would be looking for a motion to declare the list of items from the athletic department obsolete with the potential to sell and possibly discard, depending on what legal counsel tells us in the days to come. So I'm looking for a motion for that.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion further? All right, all in
Wait a minute.
favor, all in favor. Sorry, I already did it.
Do we have to involve legal? Because every time we dial up legal, we pay for it.
Oh,
That's if
okay.
we want it. if we wanted to donate it. I mean, I guess I can try to find other avenues. I can talk to our accountants. Our accountants also offer some advice. So I can try to do it for free. I mean, they just charge us an annual fee. So Tom Zuber is always available for questions if you want, and then I'll share with Superintendent Fluke and she can give you an update and
Okay.
board update.
Okay. All right. So is there any further discussion, comments, whatever? We don't need to motion on it ever again because at this point we've done it too many times. Do we need to withdraw a motion in a second, Jen? Okay. All right, is it all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is also carried. That's 2 pages. Moving on to capital improvement project, we have 6 invoices to carry through for the capital improvement project. So I'm looking for a motion to approve those, please.
I'll move.
A second? Any discussion?
Just when I click on the see it, capital improvement played by design, it doesn't pop up anymore. So I don't know. I just wanted to let you know, Jen. It was working, but now it's unable to process the requests when I go back in. Just wanted to let you know. Yeah, it was working when I looked at it earlier over the weekend, but now it's not.
Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is carried. And we have a proposal. I'm looking for a motion to approve the contract award ATL testing proposal. Can I get a motion there, please? A second?
I'll too.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is carried. Next, we have comments from the Board of Education. Does anyone have anything that they want to contribute here? No? I just wanted to let you all know that I attended the newly elected board member get acquainted with Chris Moore on 526 at Newark. It was very beneficial. They had like a round table of experienced board members giving advice to the newer board members. There were some questions that were actually asked by the facilitators from Newark BOCES, and then there was just some questions that the newer board members asked, and then one of the last things was, what advice would you have as a experienced board member to a starter? So I thought that was extremely beneficial. It was nice to see there was 2 superintendents at that, and then several new board members and several returning board members. So it was nice to see the amount of people that actually turned out for it. On May 28th, I virtually attended a free webinar for the 2026 New York State School Boards Association enacted state budget analysis, which was very in-depth and probably over my head because they were still waiting for some things to still come back in. It was beneficial though. It was about an hour and a half long. As I said earlier, on June 1st, I attended the academic and scholarship awards. Today, I participated virtually through the New York State School Board Association free webinar for better board decisions. Start with better data from NISBA, and it was very interesting. I don't know if we already do this, but they were for the convention that's going to be happening in July. It's a 2-day event, but there's going to be like a go through every step to be able to go through the census to collect all the information of where we should be looking for birth rates, so we know what our intake of students is going to be. It goes through a plethora of numbers so that we can better scale and plan for the future. It was only a half an hour session, so it was a very short snippet, but I took screenshots of the 2 things where they walk you through how to find everything. So I was gonna go try to play with it a little, and then I don't know if we already do it, but if not, I'd love to like talk and show you how that works. Yeah, because I didn't know, like, I think it was Barry Entwistle, he's from NISBA, and he was blown away by what the presenter had to say, because he didn't, I don't think, knew all about it. Very interesting. For a half an hour content, it was, mind blowing. It was a lot of information to take in. Then June 11th was obviously strategic design team. We talked about mission, vision, and layout. And again, I think that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of so far being on the board. That was just an outstanding experience. So I very much appreciated being on that. Tomorrow I present for fifth grade moving up, and then next Monday I do kindergarten graduation. So I will be at that, and then whatever else I'm needed at. But this is the part of the year where all the free work that we do is you get to reap the rewards of the celebrations and the diplomas and the excitement. And, this is the part I love. So if nobody has anything else, does anybody? Just want to make sure, because this is it for the year. If you don't speak now, you can forever hold your peace until our meeting in July. There's information listed for the board. And then, let me flip through my other pages. And then do we have any reason to go into executive session this evening? We have no reason to go into executive session this evening. So I would be looking for a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll move.
And a second? Is there any last minute discussion for any reason whatsoever? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.